is going on? We are back and black in the building. Shout out to everybody out there at the Core Plantation doing what they need to do to survive. Shout out to all my beautiful, successful entrepreneurs that's out there. Shout out to everybody out there. Shawnee, Erica, Florida, Philly in the building. Stand up. Dave for No Compromise, James, Youngblood, Tasho, everybody out there. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the homegirls, Latanya, Miss Tanya, all y'all, man. Hey, y'all know what it is. Let's get it. Man, we're going to talk about the United States debt today. Yeah, man. I went on Instagram Live, man. I had to address some things, and, I just wasn't feeling that. I'm kind of touch on that today. We're going to talk about the United States debt, and we're going to talk about what it means to us and how it affects us. Let's get it. Hey. Man, I'm glad to make it back another day, another 10 cents, because, we get the 10 cents, and they normally get $350 to the dollar. I got an article, not just an article, I was looking at it, and, it just talks about the debt ceiling and what they need to do. So we're going to play a little bit of it and see if it plays. I just don't want to play no damn commercials.
Hey, and one more.
Hold on. So we're going to wait for it to play because we're going to talk about the debt ceiling. We need to learn about this stuff, man. This shit affects us too. We be acting like it don't affect us. No, it affects you too. What doesn't affect you directly will affect you indirectly if you're not paying attention, and you can catch that wave before the wave catch you. So we're going to talk about the United States of America Incorporated's debt ceiling. And let's see what they plan on doing, because they got till June to come up with a plan.
Well, we've got Neil Bradley, the Chief Policy Officer at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, who joins me now from Washington, D.C. So great to have you on. I mean, we heard the warnings from Janet Yellen. We're hearing Jerome Powell saying, look, there's little we can do. But here's the thing, would lawmakers actually flirt with the possibility of a default, or are you expecting an 11th hour deal to sort of save the day as 1st of June is looming?
Yeah, Elaine, well, thanks for having me. I do expect an 11th hour deal. It may be 11 hours and 58 minutes. They may cut it really close to the wire. But I do think that lawmakers and the president understand the consequences of a first ever default. So I do think we'll find a way of resolving this. For our part at the U.S. Chamber, we're just trying to make sure that we're moving these negotiations along, because what we don't want to do is have kind of an inadvertent default where we think we're coming together on a deal and there's a last minute hiccup, and for some reason or another, Congress fails to increase it. That would be catastrophic.
Absolutely. Look, it's reputational damage at a global level. There's local impact. I mean, this is widespread worry that you have to take into consideration. I was looking back historically in terms of when things really got sticky, and it kind of, my producer reminded me of what happened with Bill Clinton in the 90s, and there were major spending cuts that came into play as well. Are you anticipating that, spending cuts are going to be a reality in these negotiations, that there's no way out of that?
They should be. They should be on the table. And frankly, we do need to reduce federal spending. And so the size of our budget and our budget deficit is simply unsustainable. So it's reasonable that a debt limit increase would be attached to spending restraints. It's not just the case that was done a few years ago when President Obama was president. It was done during Clinton's time. You can go back even further. In the 1980s, Ronald Reagan and a Democratic Congress haggled over a debt limit increase and on deficit reduction. So this is nothing new in that sense. We've just been getting a lot closer to the X date where we would actually default in recent years than we have in the past.
Yeah. We don't have much time, but I do want to talk about Title 42. It is set to expire next week. You've been very vocal and about critical workforce shortages, and you're also calling for action to deal with the border crisis. What are you anticipating? What do you expect in terms of action?
Well, the expiration of Title 42 directly points us to why we've had over 430 business organizations in the United States calling on Congress to take action this year to do two things: to secure the border and reform our broken legal immigration system. So we've had enough talk, we've had enough blame going on between the parties. It's actually time to find solutions, and there are common sense solutions that both sides can agree on that would make real progress in both securing the border and reforming an immigration system to make sure that American businesses have access to the talent and the workers that they need.
Neil Bradley, thank you so very much.
All right, let's kick the music back on. I know they was talking some bullshit, but I just want to read y'all a couple of things so y'all can understand what's going on. As negotiations over addressing the debt ceiling continue and the threat of default draws closer, President 94 crime bill Joe Biden has resurfaced the controversial idea of using the 14th Amendment as a way to lift the borrowing cap without Congress. Though Biden doesn't consider the move an imminent solution, several liberal lawmakers in both chambers are pushing him to invoke the amendment rather than giving in to Republican demands to cut spending and tighten work requirements. Among others, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont and Elizabeth Warren, the Pretendian, who acted like she was Native American of Massachusetts, are among 11 senators who are arguing the president to take advantage of the amendment to avoid the U.S. defaulting on its debt. Section of the 14th Amendment. How could a 140-year-old change to the U.S. Constitution that gave citizens to former slaves serve as a path out of debt ceiling drama? Government officials and legal authorities are divided over whether it does. Some experts, including Lawrence H. Tribe of Harvard Law School, point to Section 4 of the amendment as the basis of their argument that the president has the authority to order the nation's debt be paid regardless of the debt limit Congress put in place more than 100 years ago. The validity of the public debt of the United States of America Incorporated, authorized by law, including debts incurred for payments of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrections or rebellions, shall not be questioned, reads the section, which refers to the debt incurred by the Union to fight the Civil War. Lawmakers who crafted the amendment are very strongly saying that once the United States borrows money, it has to pay it back, says Garrett Epps, a constitutional law professor at the University of Oregon. The section was designed to remove debt payments from potential post-war partisan bickering between the North and the South, but it also applies to the wide divide between Democrats and Republicans today. The federal government is required to pay the debt on time in full, said Epps, who has long supported using this option in the event Congress refuses to raise the debt ceiling. Legal responses likely were Biden to invoke the 14th Amendment to allow Treasury to borrow up above the debt ceiling to pay the nation's obligations. It would most certainly prompt a constitutional crisis and swift legal action. All right. So they talk about the 14th Amendment. Let's just take a look at a couple of sections. All persons, this is the 14th Amendment because I'm going to read it to you. I know it's equal protection of the law. But all persons born or naturalized in the United States of America Incorporated and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States of America Incorporated of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of a citizens of the United States. That's what Donald Trump told everybody. Everybody's like, I got rights. He said, no, you have privileges and immunities. You don't have any rights. Nor shall any state deprive any person of law, liberty, or property without due process of the law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, including Indians, not taxed. That's right, Native Americans, they don't pay tax. But when the right to vote of any election for the choice of electors for president and vice president of the United States, representatives in Congress, the executive and judicial officers of a state, or the members of the legislative thereof is denied to any of the male inhabitants of such state, being between 1 year of age and the citizen of the United States are in any way abridged except for the participation in rebellion or other crime. The basis of representation thereof shall be reduced in the proportion which the number of such male citizens shall bear to the whole number of male citizens 21 years of age in each state. So now I read all that bullshit. You know, now that I read that, now that we've read that and we talk about it, you notice they mention how people are like, hey man, you need to correct the borders and break them down and uphold the borders so people are not just coming over here and having anchor babies because we already got a debt to pay. See, this is not about being a Republican or a Democrat. It's about, okay, if y'all got a debt to pay, pay it. But the first debt that you should be paying is what? Reparations to the foundational Black Americans who built this country for free without a repayment. That's where your debt is. For all you guys that don't know, the United States of America Incorporated is the trustees of this landmass. They don't own the land. They're trustees of the landmass. So we have to understand, you talking about the debt ceiling and repaying and all this other shit. Let's talk about the 14th Amendment. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. See, when the dominant society made these laws, they probably was like, all right, fuck it, let's just write that shit in there. You know, we about to abolish slavery anyway. It's the antebellum period, fuck it. Let's just write these motherfucking laws down. But these laws ain't really to help out no niggas. These laws are really to keep them within the constraints and under the control of the hidden hand, which is the dominant society. We have to understand what's going on. You think they give a fuck about paying the debt back to the foundational Black Americans? No, but if we keep pressing and talking about it, they will have no choice. Warren, what's your take on immigrants? Right now, we don't need no immigrants in this country. Sorry. I cannot move to another country, live off that country, and then talk shit about the natives in that country. But only in the United States of America Incorporated, every racial group comes here to profit. And in the words of Dr. Claude Anderson, you're here for unearned benefits. If you cannot trace your lineage back to the 1866 treaty, you're here for unearned benefits, meaning you're a freeloader. And I look, this is not about feelings. This is about business. And in business, we got to know how to conduct ourselves, like I talked about on my Instagram Live. We are fighting every other racial group to get resources because, according to Dr. Claude Anderson, the racism is the competition of resources. So how the hell am I going to be in competition with my own people when every other racial group is in competition with my people? That's why we have to learn how to conduct business and in decency and in order. And if you are a messy motherfucker, you shouldn't be in business. Go pay attention to the debt ceiling because they got to June, and after June, it's going to be a default on all the debt that we owe. Well, here's my thing about the debt. You're already in default. You're already delinquent. You owe the foundational Black Americans reparations for the last 450 years of working for free without repayment. And these bullshit salaries that you're giving foundational Black Americans is not a repayment. It is indentured servitude. Go look that up. Shout out to Dave from No Compromise, James Youngblood, everybody out there. I got nothing but love for you. Y'all know my saying, guilty nigga. I'm out. Peace.